Hey everyone, I'm Joanne Hughes. I'm an intuitive lifestyle strategist, mentor, and author. And today I'm talking mindset. You know, as a coach, mindset is going to be one of the biggest things as a coach that you will work with your client with. And I know for myself, often had to do that work with clients. You know, if you're just starting out as a coach, or just getting your business started, you can guarantee that you are going to be working through mindset with your clients. Also, this is day one for myself. I committed to a 30-day visibility challenge for myself, and today is day one. And it's very fitting for me to start off with mindset shifting. For myself, going back about 5.5, 6 years ago, I kind of took a step back from social media, from coaching. Um, I am also a psychic medium, and I kind of took a step back from all of that. And part of the reason was um, I had lost my mom. And so I actually moved to Mexico for a while and did some program creation at that time. But I just found that, you know, of course, through the grieving process, we really don't want to be out in the world or, out promoting our stuff or talking, coaching or any of that stuff. And I especially didn't want to be on camera. As a psychic medium. Now, I do remember as I'm saying that I did do some readings, and it was probably during 2020. And so I did do some of that stuff, but I really, as you're working through the process of grief, for myself, I just found that there was, what came with that was a lot of vulnerability. And then it just seemed the longer I was away from it, the more I started to doubt myself, the more I lost confidence, and the more it just felt really hard for me to move forward and get back out there. I used to do live videos often. I did workshops online, and I just really stopped doing all of that for a period of time. And um, so now, I just made that. As I say, I was doing some journaling and doing some personal work this weekend, and actually started kind of looking back at mindset and at a certain belief that I held. So recently, I actually had a psychic medium on Facebook. She was going to interview me, and we just did it via messaging back and forth. And I remember her saying, Joanne, can't you incorporate that into what you're doing now? And I mean, I guess one thing I want to say about that is when you're a psychic medium, intuitive, whatever, it's not something that I went to school for. It's not something that shuts down or isn't there. It's always present. It's who I am. It's just a part of. It's a gift that I have. Some people have the gift of gab. Some people are charming. Some people are really witty, and they don't stop being witty. Because it's just a part of who they are, right? So, um, anyways, in when I turned 50, okay, I'm gonna go back for a minute here. Now, I had a mother that was a psychiatric nurse growing up, and as a child, I did have this gift as a child, and I knew things and I saw things, and I just had a feeling and a knowing to keep my mouth shut and not ever talk about that. And I never did. When I was in my maybe early 20s, I would talk to my friends about it. There were growing up, I did talk to friends about, you know, um, prophetic dreams because I had very prophetic dreams growing up. And so I did talk about that. But I mean, I'm talking probably one friend that I would talk to about that. So I was very closed with that in terms of I never talked to anyone about it, never ever talked to my parents or told them about it. And when I hit 50, I actually came out of the psychic medium closet and posted on Facebook. And that was a huge step for me to do that because all my family is on social media and they're on Facebook. So even just to come out and talk about that was difficult. But the thing about, being a coach is really needing to stand in your truth and your power and be authentic. And it's really hard if you're coaching people or mentoring people without being 100% in your power and in your authenticity. And so all of this stuff, over the years has kind of weighed heavy on my mind. But the one thing that I realized was I had a story around it. Now, there is a reason why, again, like I say, I never spoke about it. Chances are either I would have been committed or I would have been put on medication. And I was never, I mean, I can't know that 100% because I never ever told my mom about that, never spoke about it. So I can't 100% be sure, but I'm 90% sure that that would have happened without having spoken to her. But the one thing, again, getting back to mindset, the one thing that I knew was I discovered one day I was having a conversation with another friend of mine who's a medium, and she had asked me, well, have you ever told your parents or talked to your parents about it? And I said, oh, no, no way. There's like, I'll never, ever, ever say anything to my parents. Like, no way. There's no way I'm going to have my kids taken away from me. And she just kind of, like, both of us actually were kind of taken aback by that statement. And it was even surprising to me. And, she looked at me and she said, Joanne, I'm a psychic. I actually have a professional license. And you know what? I have a son. I have kids. Your kids will not be taken away because you're a psychic. And, so what happened, what I realized with myself is that because I had kept it quiet for so long and I had built up, I had a thought around that, which was, if I speak about this, I'm going to be, like I said, committed or put on medication. And so that became a belief for me. It's something that I took on as 100% belief that this is just its truth. And I lived my life that way. And so after my mom passed, um, you know, of course, I love my mom, and it was really hard when she passed. But at the same time, I was able to start looking at those things, those beliefs, systems around being a psychic, and calling myself that, or coming out and charging money for that. And so with a mindset over time, starting from when I was a girl, that was a protection for me. That was something that kept me safe to not talk about it, because, there's fear of rejection, fear of persecution, fear of judgment. So, and also fear of being, you know, taken to a mental institute or taken and being put on medication because I'm delusional or something. So having that thought, and that thought that turned into a belief, kept me safe. So I understand why I incorporated that as a belief. But then what had to happen at a certain point was that I had to examine that belief. And really, where does that belief come from? That mindset or belief that I had came from a thought, and a thought that it's our defense mechanisms, and a thought that again kept me safe, and therefore adopted this mindset, which became a belief. And so I really realized that. And actually, just recently, I've always considered myself a lifestyle strategist, but now I put intuition in front of that. And part of that as well, where I was able to do that and shift my mindset, was actually seeing the younger generation out there and seeing the work that they're doing as a psychic, and using their intuitive gifts to help people. And the very first thought I had when I was watching this and kind of observing it was, wow, like, look at these young people. Look at how like, um, courageous they are. Look at how bold they are. They don't have a fear in the world around that. And it was, just them being so courageous. What I was feeling was courageous, was being reflected to me just by them simply like talking about it so nonchalantly and powerfully about it. Like, this is my gift. I'm intuitive. And yes, I use it to help millions of people or hundreds of people. And that was part of an instant mindset for me, because even though, okay, I had to kind of work through that a little bit and think about it, I just thought, you know, for one thing, I mean, I was out there often on video doing readings, doing cards, and I had many clients as a reader. And so it's so quick, it was so interesting to see how quickly that all of that can shift, and how your mindset can shift. And I know this, and I say it often to my daughter, that any when you have a mindset, you need to change that, it can change in an instant, because I've seen it done hundreds of times. But sometimes it is a process of working through that. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there, because it has to do with the mindset. And just, again, this was my big kind of aha moment, and that something happened for me that shifted. And I want to talk about the 3 steps actually, to get there. And I've already answered the question, is, if people say, well, how do you change your mindset? How do you shift your mindset? um, and really that was it, was that it was for me being just seeing this younger generation out there, living it. And to me, I just thought it was so bold of them and so courageous. And I was just really flabbergasted that they didn't have the same kind of fear. And then really understanding that it was my own fear. It wasn't truth. It was just fear. So there's also 3 steps that I'm going to talk about right now that, helps to change mindset, or helps to work through any kind of problem. And so the first one is thought. So kind of going back to my experience there, a thought is created. So we have, 80, 90,000 thoughts, playing and rolling around in our mind every day, 80,000 thoughts a day. And most of those thoughts are playing on repeat, that they're at an unconscious level. And we're not even aware that we have these thoughts that come up in any given day. And our thoughts create our emotions, and they also create our state. And so, for instance, someone says something to you, it triggers an emotion within you that changes your state, but it also drives your actions. And so, for instance, if you're someone who is considering leaving their 9 to 5 job, you're unhappy at your job, and you know that there's something more that you want to do because you feel unfulfilled, it's not your passion, you're just in this job, really, you dislike your boss, you dislike the people you work with, and you dislike doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so um, there's a if you stop and think about that, there it starts with a thought. There's so it triggers. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought for a minute there. But okay, so someone tells you something and it triggers an emotion. But before that emotion is triggered and you start to feel something, there's a thought that is playing, that is probably playing over and over again. And so, for instance, okay, sorry, let's get back on that example of someone wanting to leave their 9 to 5 and they have a thought in their head, but it's unconscious. So maybe their thought is, you're not good enough. Uh, what are you gonna how are you gonna pay your bills? There's too many people doing that out there already. You're never gonna amount to anything else. And your mom or your dad have told you all your life you should do dot dot dot. So in there, this whatever thought is going, playing around or rolling around in your head, now all of a sudden that thought creates depression within you. And when you feel depressed or defeated or fear, you cannot move forward. Then it just creates this feeling of being stuck. And then you just really, so your emotion drives your action. And so the action is you just push it under or sweep it under the rug and you just stop and turn away from it and go back to your job, because it's easier to go back to your job because you know your job. It's not, it doesn't challenge you. It's not pushing you outside of your boundaries. And you already have told yourself that you're unworthy or that you're not good enough and you're not going to be able to do this. So, the 3 steps then to changing that is to be aware of that thought. And how do you become aware of the thought? At any given time during the day when you're playing, when these thoughts are unconsciously rolling around in your head, like I say, it's going to create a state within your body. And whether that's anger, whether that's fear, whether that's, some people might feel it as a tight chest. Some people may feel it as indigestion or a sore neck or, an itchy hand or whatever it is. People have different ways within their body that they feel that. And just a word about that as well. When you have a thought that's not true and it's not in alignment with who you are, and it's an untrue thought, your body will react to that. Your body's going to pick that up. So that's why our body will start to tell us what emotion is in our body, and our body will store that emotion. And so the number one thing is to start when you feel that emotion, because that's the first thing you're going to feel, because your thought is unconscious at that time. You plus you have a state. So when you feel that emotion, you have to change your state. So, for instance, if you're feeling depressed, what's the state that a person would be in if they're depressed? They're going to be slouched. They're going to probably talk really slow. Their head's going to hang. Maybe they're kind of shuffling when they walk. Um, their energy is going to go down. And this is the state of a person feeling depressed. And so when you're feeling that way, that heaviness that you'll most likely feel in your chest, the sluggishness, just not wanting to do anything, it doesn't matter anyways, because why bother? When you feel those feelings and you feel that state of your body, what you need to do is first you need to shift your state. Excuse me. And how you'll shift your state is by, putting on some music. That's the first thing I tell clients, is to listen to music, listen to an upbeat song or an uplifting song, or stand in a really tall Superman pose, either with your hands behind your back or, put your arms above your head. And I'm not even joking. That's what I tell my clients to do sometimes, because it does change your state. And, Anthony Robbins talks about this all the time and does this with athletes. So it's something that really can shift quickly. And it's something that I've worked on myself and that I do and incorporate into my daily life. It's what I tell my clients to do, because the first thing, if you're in a hole, if you're deep down in a hole, you have to climb out of that hole first. So you have to change your state, and then you need to change that thought. And the first thing about changing that thought is just being aware of that thought, because as I said, most of those thoughts are unconscious, and we're not even aware that we're thinking that. So when you stop and you actually just think, okay, wait a minute, I'm starting to feel depressed, or I'm starting to feel angry. So what's going on in my head here? And you just stop and you think about, I will guarantee you that you'll be able to catch that thought that you tell yourself. And, then you kind of can go, oh, okay, wow. I can hear myself saying, like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to do that because I've never been able to do anything in my life. Whatever the thought is, you'll hear yourself, and then you're aware of that thought. So now it's not an unconscious thought anymore. Now it's a conscious thought. And you always want to come and walk through life and do anything in a conscious state and being aware of that. And then you'll be able to easily shift that. Once you're aware of that thought, it's going to, you just shift it. Hey, okay, maybe I've had some failures in my life, but I've also had a lot of growth in my life. So just by switching that around, you're going to feel your state is going to automatically change. So, and really the key in changing your state is gratitude, because when you're in a state of gratitude, you can't be depressed, you can't be angry, you can't feel stuck. When you're in a state of gratitude, it's just a constant, expansive emotion. And so that's the first thing to start with is, being in a state of gratitude. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes here. Um, Change your state, then examine the thought so that you can shift your thought and be conscious of that thought. And that's going to change your action. Because, for instance, if you have a thought that I'm not worthy of this, or I can't do it, I'm a failure, your emotion is going to be depressed, and your action from that is go to bed. Right? You're just going to go to bed. You're going to give up. You're going to go back to your job. And it just stops you in your track. And when you change those three things, you will shift through anything. So those definitely are three steps. And so with the gratitude, I also want to talk about what Anthony Robbins calls priming. And so it's something that I incorporate as well into my day. And I also talk about with clients is the priming. So the first thing that you do is, usually I always do this in the morning, and I always suggest people to do it in the morning because it just starts your day off in a great way, right? So you close your eyes and you put your hand over your heart and you think about one thing in your life, that an event, it could be anything that you have a lot of gratitude for, that, it may be people or a situation. And then you close your eyes, like I said, hand over your heart, and you feel that, and you feel the emotion associated with that event that you feel so much gratitude for. I like to think about three happy times in my life, like times where I was just through the roof excited or really proud of myself when I accomplished something and how it felt. And then what you do is you let that feeling fill you up, because you'll feel warm. You can visualize a light moving through you. I like to envision like a golden light covering my whole chest area, my heart chakra, and then going all down my body to my toes, coming back up out of my head. And then what you do is you continue to have to you have to feel that emotion associated with you, with the feeling. And then you expand it out to your extended family, to your friends, and out to the world. And then you have that feeling. And then usually I always kind of like do a jump and go, yeah. And then because really you want you don't you want to feel the gratitude for that situation, but you want to change your state. So your body has to actually be in movement, and you want to feel the emotion around that event. Because all of those things shift your physiology in your body. It literally will change your physiology, and that's an important thing to do. And then from there, I always think about, okay, what are 3 goals? What are 3 things in the next month that I want to achieve? And I just believe they're done. I'll visualize it. I'll see myself, and I'll sit with the emotions around those 3 things that I want to achieve. And, whether it's I want to achieve 5 grand in the next month, or I want to achieve, getting 5 clients, or I want to get, this course finished, or my novel written, whatever it is, I see it as done. And I walk away knowing that it's already done. It's in my life. And it's a really great thing to do. And again, I'm going to incorporate music to the end at the end of that, because again, music shifts your vibration, it shifts your physiology, and it uplifts you and makes you feel inspired. And that's the place that you want to start your day from. And so those are kind of the things that I do around shifting mindset, or when I'm feeling stuck. And I urge you to think about the things that are stopping you from, if you're a coach and you're having a hard time, creating programs or attracting clients. I want you to think about, the things that are stopping you. And then I want you to consider the story I told you about mindset, and about, really being authentic to yourself. And truly, there's 2 places that you're coming from that you can think about. And one is coming from a place of love, which is a place of expansion. And the other place is coming from a place of fear, which is constriction. Because if you think about it, if you're looking at the things that are keeping you, that are holding you back, whether again that's leaving a 9 to 5 job, whether that's starting your coaching career, or sitting down and writing that book, whatever it is for you, that thought is either coming from a place of love or fear. Because if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like there's just no way you're going to be able to do it, because I can't, I won't be able to pay my bills and walk away from my job, or it's going to take too much to, achieve the amount of income that I need to achieve. Whatever thought that you're thinking of, just think of that thought and write that thought down. And then ask yourself, is that thought coming from a place of love and expansion, or is that thought coming from a place of fear and constriction? Because there's only 2 places that thought is coming from. And then look at shifting that. And, the easiest way that I always tell people that they could shift things is really take yourself back to a time. Because I'll guarantee you, each and every one of you, can think of a time in your life where you felt joy, where you felt really excited about something. Even if it was if you had, now I'm going to date myself by telling you this, but I mean, if you have 50 cents to go buy a double bubble, 50 cents to go buy a piece of bubble gum, or, $5 to go out and get your favorite book or something. Okay, and let's say $30 to get your favorite book. If you have that money in your pocket and you're able to go buy something that you love, then you know what? That's coming from a place of expansion, like because you feel joy around that. So think about what's holding you back. Think about the thought, because there's 100% a thought behind it. Write down that thought. Go back to a time where you felt joy and felt expansive. And then think about the goal that you want to achieve and what it is that you're feeling stuck, whether it's I can't leave my job or whatever it is. Then think about that. If you had that in your life right now, what would that feel like? What would it feel like? And just really visualize doing that, seeing yourself in that job. Visualize yourself getting, 5K a month coming in with ease. Um, Visualize yourself buying that business or, buying that house, whatever it is for you that you want to achieve. Visualize yourself with that and then feel that emotion around it and see it already done. See it in your life. Those are ways that you're going to be able to shift your mindset and move forward in anything that you want to achieve in your life. So, again, going back to my 30-day challenge, this is day one. I hope you have enjoyed this talk, and hopefully, maybe you'll have written down the thoughts that are preventing you and holding you back. And every Monday for the next 30 days, Mondays will be my talks on mindset if you want to join me next Monday. So, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.